Let's face it, motorcycles are unforgiving. And if you're doing dumb things with yours, it will catch up to you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually, that bad decision's going to leave you broke, stranded, or sliding across the asphalt like a cautionary tale. So in this one, we're calling it out. No soft advice. No, well, technically, it just depends. Just the stuff only stupid people do to their bikes. The kind of mistakes that scream inexperience, ego, or flat-out laziness. Don't be that guy. Let's get into it. Number 1, ignoring the first oil change. You just bought a brand new bike. You're excited. You're riding it every chance you get. And somewhere in the owner's manual, probably around page 4, it says to change the oil at 600 miles. You think, hey, it's probably fine if I wait a little longer. Modern engines are built better. Congratulations, you're being stupid. The first oil change is non-negotiable. That initial oil isn't just lubricating the engine, it's a toxic slurry. It's catching microscopic metal shavings from freshly machined gears, break-in residue from the piston rings seating, clutch material from the plates bedding in, and all the assembly gunk your engine sheds like dead skin in the first few hundred miles. You're essentially running a liquid metal sandpaper through your engine's veins. Let it circulate too long, and you're grinding that garbage right back through the tight tolerances of your bearings, your cams, and your transmission. And no, this isn't some dealer upsell myth. It's basic mechanical knowledge. Freshly machined parts rub, scrape, and smooth themselves in during the first few rides. That's normal. What's not normal is leaving that contaminated oil in there while pretending modern bikes are invincible. Skip the first oil change and you're not saving time. You're shortening your engine's lifespan for absolutely no reason. You spent thousands on a new machine, and now you're gambling its future over an oil filter and 1.5 quarts of synthetic. Don't be that guy. Set a reminder. Do the damn oil change, especially the first one. Number 2, removing the front fender for the look. You wanted that stripped-down, minimalist, badass aesthetic. So what's the first thing to go? The front fender. Who needs it, right? It's just a piece of plastic. Doesn't do anything, just ruins the vibe. Wrong. Removing the front fender doesn't make you look cool. It makes you an idiot with a filthy face and a pitted radiator. That fender isn't just decoration, it's functional armor. It keeps water, sand, rocks, and road gunk from being flung straight up by your front tire. Take it off and guess what happens? You turn your bike into a projectile launcher aimed directly at your engine, your forks, your face, and everyone riding behind you. Every little piece of gravel becomes a bullet, sandblasting the finish off your engine cases and putting tiny dings in your radiator fins, slowly reducing its cooling efficiency. And if you're riding in the rain, you're getting a rooster tail straight to the chest. Enjoy that. Even worse, on some bikes, the front fender is a structural component. It acts as a fork brace, adding crucial rigidity to the front end. Take it off, and you can introduce flex into your suspension that was never meant to be there, making your handling vague and unpredictable in corners. Yeah, now your clean look is actively hurting your handling. You think you're building a bobber, but in reality, you're building a bad decision, all to show off a front tire nobody asked to see. You want a clean look? Learn to clean the bike properly. Leave the fender where it belongs. Number 3, buying the cheapest tires you can find. Look, we get it. Motorcycles are expensive. Maintenance, mods, gear, insurance, it adds up. But if you're scrolling through discount websites looking for off-brand tires with names like Speed King Z9000 Ultra Grip that cost less than a pizza, you've officially crossed into stupid territory. Your tires are the only thing connecting you to the road. Not your frame, not your forks. Your tires. 2 rubber contact patches, each about the size of your palm, are all that's keeping you from becoming a skid mark on the highway. And you're going to risk all of that for a $90 rear tire with no reviews and a tread pattern that looks like it was drawn by a 5-year-old? Cheap tires are made with hard, unforgiving compounds designed for one thing: not wearing out quickly. They sacrifice grip for longevity. They might work fine for a while in perfect, sunny, 75-degree weather. Until they don't. Until it rains, or gets cold, or you hit a corner just a little hotter than usual and realize that ultra grip actually means ultra slide. Here's the kicker. Good tires don't have to be crazy expensive. You can get solid, proven, mid-range rubber from reputable brands like Michelin, Pirelli, or Dunlop for a few bucks more. Tires that have been tested, reviewed, and built with real R&D for real conditions. But no, you wanted to save 40 bucks. So now you're riding around on rubber that feels like it was molded in someone's garage in 1987. Your tires are your life. Don't gamble it on garbage. Number 4. Replacing stock mirrors with tiny bar-end dots. You wanted that sleek, aggressive, clean lines look. So you ditched your stock mirrors, functional, adjustable, practical, and replaced them with 2 chrome buttons the size of breath mints glued to the end of your bars. Now, you can't see anything except your own elbows, the tip of your shoulder, and maybe the ghost of a car somewhere in your blind spot. But hey, at least it looks good when the bike's parked. This is one of those mods that screams, "I value aesthetics over survival." You've sacrificed situational awareness for symmetry, visibility for vibes, and now you're riding with less rearward information than a horse with blinders. It's even worse if you got a jacket that flares out half your field. A view is just sleeve. You're doing frantic full-neck head checks every 3 seconds because those glorified jewelry pieces bolted to your bars don't show you anything useful, taking your eyes off the road ahead where the real danger is. And let's be honest, most of these cheap bar-end mirrors are junk. They vibrate so badly the image is just a blur. They rattle loose, they fog up, they go floppy after 3 rides, and you will forget to Loctite them. Look, we're not saying you have to keep the stock Mickey Mouse ears, but if your mirror mod leaves you guessing whether there's a car behind you, you didn't upgrade, you downgraded. If you can't see what's behind you, you're riding blind. That's not custom. That's stupid. Number 5. Installing loud pipes because they save lives. This might be the most repeated, most dangerously wrong piece of advice in all of motorcycling. Loud pipes save lives. You hear it everywhere. Forums, bike nights, parking lots, and it sounds smart. After all, if people can hear you coming, they won't hit you, right? Wrong, and dangerously so. First off, basic physics. Most of that glorious, earth-shaking sound is projected backwards. That person in front of you, sealed in their soundproofed car, on their phone, with the windows up and the stereo blasting. They're not hearing your exhaust until you're already beside them or past them. And by then, if they were going to cut you off, they already did. But here's the real problem. Believing this nonsense makes people lazy riders. When you teach riders that noise will protect them, they stop riding defensively. They subconsciously assume the world will adjust to them, that someone will hear the bike before doing something stupid. They stop actively managing their lane position. They stop scanning aggressively because their V-twin is loud enough to be a force field. It's not. The truth is, sound is a luxury, not a safety system. It might help occasionally, but if your life depends on someone else hearing your muffler, you've already lost. We're not saying you can't have an exhaust that sounds good, but if you think you're installing safety by making your bike obnoxious, you've fallen for one of the worst myths in the book. Noise isn't awareness, and luck isn't protection. Number 6. Buying a bike that's too tall because you'll grow into it. This is one of those mistakes people make before they even throw a leg over the seat. You walk into a dealership, you see that tall ADV or sport bike with the aggressive stance, and the salesperson, eager to make a sale, says, "You'll get used to the height. You'll grow into it." And you believe them, except you won't. A bike that's too tall for you isn't just awkward, it's dangerous. Struggling on your tiptoes at a stoplight, that's how you tip over in traffic when you hit a small oil patch. Trying to put a foot down on uneven pavement or a sloped road? Hope you like dropping a 500-pound machine onto your ankle. You don't grow into geometry, you fight it. Constantly. Every time you stop, every time you maneuver at low speeds, every time you have to back it out of a parking spot. That constant anxiety erodes your confidence. Riding should be empowering, not a balancing act that leaves you praying for a curb to stop next to. And don't listen to the real bikers who say you just need to toughen up. That's macho BS. The best bike is the one you can control comfortably, confidently, and without guessing if your next stop will end in a slow-motion tip-over. Seat height isn't a challenge, it's a measurement. And if the numbers don't work for you, the bike doesn't either. Choosing the right fit isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You don't look cool dropping your dream bike at a red light. You just look like you bought the wrong machine. Number 7. Upgrading brake parts without knowing what they do. You wanted better stopping power. Fair enough. But instead of learning how your braking system actually works, you threw on a set of stainless steel lines, slapped in some race compound. Pads, swapped the master cylinder for something you saw in a forum, and now your brakes feel worse than before. Or they lock up unexpectedly, or they squeal like a dying pig, or you've just nuked your brake balance and don't even realize it. This is what happens when people mod their brakes like they're picking paint colors. Brake upgrades aren't plug-and-play stickers. They're a system. Pads, lines, rotors, fluid, and master cylinder all work together in a delicate hydraulic balance. Swap one without considering the rest, and you might lose bite, overheat your fluid, or get a grabby, unpredictable lever feel. And if you're mixing street and track parts without knowing why, you're asking for trouble. Those aggressive race pads, for example, need heat to work. On the street, they might feel wooden and lifeless for the first few stops, until you're 2 corners deep and they suddenly bite, by which point you've already rear-ended somebody. Stainless steel lines feel firmer, but if your master cylinder's piston size isn't matched properly, you just changed the whole pressure curve, making the brakes feel like a light switch, all on or all off. Brakes are the most important system on your bike. Upgrading them can be great, but only if you understand how each part affects the whole. If you're guessing, you're not upgrading. You're experimenting with your life. Number 8. Neglecting the chain because it looks fine. You glance down at your chain. It's not glowing orange with rust. It's not rattling like a can of bolts. It's not laying in the street behind you. So you think, looks fine to me, and you keep riding. Congratulations. You're ignoring the single most abused, overlooked, and crucial moving part on your entire bike. Just because your chain isn't screaming for help doesn't mean it's healthy. Chains don't wear out all at once. They degrade quietly. The tension loosens. The internal O-rings that hold the grease dry out. The rollers get stiff, creating tight spots. And before you know it, that fine chain is eating your sprockets, killing your fuel economy, creating a jerky throttle response, and is one good throttle whack away from snapping at highway speed. A snapped chain can lock your rear wheel instantly, or whip forward and punch a hole clean through your engine case. Let's talk lube. If you haven't cleaned and lubed your chain in a few hundred miles, especially after rain or dusty rides, you're already on borrowed time. A dry chain isn't just loud, it's grinding itself to death. Oh, and adjusting the chain? That's not optional. Too tight, and you're putting immense stress on your countershaft bearing and transmission. Too loose, and it could derail or slap around like a jump rope at speed. Your chain isn't just maintenance, it's mandatory. Check it, lube it, adjust it, or prepare for an expensive and potentially terrifying lesson. Number 9. Buying a bike that fits your ego, not your life. You saw the reviews. You saw the ads. You saw your favorite YouTuber ripping wheelies on a canyon road in full race leathers. So you walked into the dealership and bought the dream bike, the liter sport bike, the huge ADV rig, the chrome cruiser with floorboards the size of ironing boards. And now, you hate it. You hate the wrist-breaking riding position. You hate backing the 600-pound beast out of the garage. You hate how hot it gets in traffic. You hate that every ride feels like a chore, and you're not sure why. Here's why. You didn't buy a bike that fits your actual life. You bought a fantasy, and now you're living in its uncomfortable reality. You commute 5 miles in traffic, but you bought a track weapon that's miserable below 60 mph. You live in a third-floor apartment and got a 600-pound cruiser you dread moving. You've never touched gravel, but you own a full-blown adventure bike with panniers you've never opened. It's not just a comfort thing, it's a safety thing. Riding a bike that's too much, too big, or too wrong for your day-to-day makes you hesitant, awkward, and distracted. And that's when mistakes happen. There's nothing wrong with having a dream bike, but there's something very wrong with owning a motorcycle that doesn't work for your roads, your commute, your body, or your skill level. Don't buy the fantasy. Buy the bike that makes you want to ride every day, not the one that looks good in someone else's reel. Number 10. Trusting the fuel gauge like it's gospel. You hop on the bike, glance at the digital display or analog needle, see a bar or two, and think, plenty of gas. So you take the long way home or hit that back road detour. Or worse, you go out for a ride thinking, I'll just fill up later. And then it happens. Carburetors sputter. Silence. You're pushing your bike in full gear, sweating bullets, waving at cars while muttering, but the gauge said I had fuel. Guess what? Motorcycle fuel gauges are liars. Some are optimistic, some are lazy, not moving, until you're halfway empty, then plummeting like a cliff dive. Others bounce up and down with every hill and bump, like they're guessing your fate based on vibes. Even newer bikes with digital range-to-empty displays can be wildly inaccurate, constantly recalculating based on your last 2 minutes of aggressive riding. Smart riders don't rely on the gauge, they track mileage. They reset their trip meter at every fill-up. They know their average range and plan their routes accordingly. The fuel gauge is a suggestion. Your trip meter is the truth. Your brain is the backup. Use them or enjoy pushing your bike to the gas station you should have stopped at 20 miles ago. Number 11. Letting it sit all winter without prep, then acting surprised. You parked it in October, maybe November, rolled it into the corner of the garage, dropped the kickstand, and walked away. No fuel stabilizer, no battery tender, no tire care, no cover. You figured, I'll just fire it up in the spring. Fast forward to April. The battery's dead. The fuel in the tank smells like paint thinner. The tires have flat spots. And the bike that used to start on the first try now just cranks like a dying lawnmower. And you're standing there thinking, weird, it ran fine before. This is what happens when people treat motorcycles like cars. Bikes don't like sitting. The ethanol in modern fuel separates and gums up your tiny carburetor jets or fuel injectors. The battery discharges and sulfated plates render it useless. Moisture gets into the tank and rubber starts to age. Winter prep isn't complicated. Drain or stabilize the fuel. Put the battery on a tender. Check the tire pressure. Cover it. It takes an hour. It saves you a week of frustration and $100 shop bill in the spring. But nope, you just ghosted your bike for 4 months. And now you're shocked it's acting like you abandoned it. You did. And it noticed. Want your bike to start like it should when riding season hits? Treat it like it matters when it's not. Number 12. Replacing the exhaust before learning to ride. You just got your first bike. You haven't even figured out how to take a proper corner, but your first mod? A $900 slip-on exhaust because someone told you the stock pipe was choking the bike. Or worse, you just wanted it to be louder so you could hear yourself stall in traffic. This is peak beginner logic. Upgrade the sound before upgrading the rider. You're not doing track days. You're not tuning. You're not pushing limits. But you've got a titanium muffler that screams at 6,000 RPM while you're still figuring out how to stop without lurching. Let's be real. Most stock exhausts are perfectly fine, especially for new riders. They're engineered for smooth throttle response, usable mid-range power, and reliable operation. That loud aftermarket can? It might give you a slight horsepower bump way at the top of the dyno chart, but you won't notice it because you haven't even found that part of the rev range yet. And if you don't remap your ECU to account for the change in airflow, you might actually lose power, screw up your fueling, or ride around with a lean condition that slowly cooks your valves. All for the sake of more noise. That $900 could have been spent on an advanced rider course, better tires, or top-tier gear. Things that actually make you a better, safer rider. Learn to ride first, upgrade second. If your neighbors hate you, and your throttle control is still choppy, you did this backwards. Motorcycles don't forgive stupidity. And whether it's maintenance, mods, or just plain rider mindset, the dumb decisions always come back around. Sometimes as a breakdown, sometimes as a close call, sometimes as a very expensive lesson. The good news, you don't have to learn the hard way. Just don't do the stuff we just talked about. Think before you bolt something on. Think before you skip something minor. And for the love of riding, don't treat your bike like a toy. If you've made any of these mistakes, drop it in the comments. Own it. We've all done something dumb. We just got smarter after. Hit like, subscribe, and ride smart. Don't be that guy.